So I wanted to come on here and I wanted to help anyone who recently graduated or looking to start a new career, anything of that nature. A lot of my friends just graduated, a lot of my family members just graduated. Congratulations to them. They inspired me to do this video. So I came up with my top 10 interview questions and how to answer them. So if you are interested in just listening to me talk about that, stay tuned. Before I begin, if y'all hear a lot of commotion, just bear with me. They've been shooting fireworks for like a month now, and I don't know when it's gonna stop. And my cat is scared, so he's just like running back and forth. It's just a lot going on, and so a little bit about me. I am a registered nurse and a birthing doula. I've been a registered nurse for 3 years and a birthing doula for 1 year. Before I became a registered nurse, I worked in retail. I worked at every store in the mall. I've been working since I was 16, so I can help you get a job if that's what you want. Before you even go into your interview, you want to look at your own resume. Look at where you are and extract the key components of your resume. You also want to incorporate how much you get paid, how many hours you work, all of your job descriptions. You want to kind of highlight that and set that off to the side. Keep that as a side note for yourself. That's what you're going to use to basically present yourself. You also want to gather a bunch of questions that you can ask this employer, because at the end of every interview, they're always going to ask, do you have questions? Yes, you should always have questions at the end of every interview. So some examples of the questions that I would ask. I am interviewing for registered nurse positions. So I would ask things like, are there any other certifications that I need that I don't already have? Another question would be, could you describe what a typical shift would look like that I'm interviewing for? Another question would be, what are some challenges that I would face training into this shift or orienting into this shift? So those are some examples of what I would talk about, but you can ask anything. This isn't just for nurses. This is just for anybody, but gather questions ahead of time. Because at the end, you should always have questions, just period. You gathered your questions and your own little profile resume situation. Once you got all that information together and you know what you want to talk about, do research on the company that you're interviewing for. So look up their goals and all that other, all that stuff. That is important in the interview. I don't want to say it's not important when you work there, but it is important in the interview. You may hear about it while you're working there, but to get the job, it's important to know what the company's mission statement is, if they have one, what the company is what's the mission, what is the goal of that company, what are they trying to do, what are they trying to sell. You want to know these things, and because they're going to ask you about it. They may bring up things that don't have anything to do with you as an employee. They may not even ask you about that. They may ask about themselves. What do you know about my company? What do you know about my business? Why do you want to work for me? We're going to get into all of that, but do your research on where you're applying to. So after you have prepped yourself for the interview, you got your questions down, you know what you want to talk about, it's time to actually interview. And some of the first and starting interview questions are always tell me a little bit about yourself. Going into those questions, you already want to have 2 or 3 characteristics about yourself. I'm a critical thinker. I am an efficient problem solver. I have good work ethic. You want to talk about things like that, but put it into a story. You got to give examples. People love listening to stories, and that kind of makes it into a conversation, because they may even ask you some of the details of the story, and that gives it like some type of personality, because anybody can be a critical thinker, anybody can be a problem solver, but like you gotta highlight your own situation, you know what I mean? So one of the next questions, like I said, like earlier, would be, why do you want to work here? So this is the part where you gas them. You hype them up, tell them all of the mission statements that they have listed on that website, why that may align with what you have on your resume, why it is important, why you agree with what their mission is. That is the perfect time to use that research that you have and talk to them about them. Another question that they may have is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or where do you see yourself in 3 years? This is where you pull out your own resume. Are you still in school? Do you plan on going to school? Do you want to start a business? Are you working on something on the side? Like, this is where you talk about yourself and you tell them like, what are you doing with your life? Like, what do you plan on doing? Like, do you want to work in this one position for 100 years? Of course not. This is where you talk about yourself and highlight all of your own goals. So look at that too and have that written down with your profile. Like, what do you plan on doing in the next 5 years? With this next question, they may only ask you this if you have some type of work experience already. And that is, why are you leaving your last position? Or why are you leaving your last job? You want to be careful answering this question. Don't ever talk bad about any employer. This can be the job from hell. You do not want to tell anybody that. You keep that to yourself. You always talk about, I'm looking for growth, or I'm looking for expansion. I want to learn a new skill. Just don't bash anyone. You focus on you. Talk about you. This is another time. This is a perfect opportunity to talk about you. I am moving, so I wanted to work closer, or this would be a perfect time for me to learn a new skill. I'm looking to grow and expand. But don't tell them that you about to get fired and you need a new job. Don't tell them that you don't like your coworkers. Don't. The next question that they may have is, why did you choose nursing, or why did you choose your career path? And this question is pretty personal, so don't say, this is also tricky. Don't be too personal, but you do want to give them some type of feeling, some type of emotion. I mean, I know this is all business, but I mean, you're going to be working with these people, so you're going to get to know them. And this is another way for them to get to know you. So why I chose nursing. I like to help people, and a lot of my family is in the career or in the medical field already. So this is what led me into being a nurse. You also want to highlight some positive aspects of the career path you chose. Like, what do you think is good about that career? Don't talk about money. Don't talk about, I got this job, or I wanted to be a nurse because they make money or something like that. Because don't do that. Now, the next question, it can be asked in 100 different ways. And it's regarding your strengths or your weaknesses. Now, they may ask you, what is something you need to work on? Or what would your manager say about you? Or what are your weaknesses directly? Or what are your strengths directly? So those type of things you want to already have listed and already have in your head. What are your strengths and weaknesses? And give examples of how you like consider those strengths or weaknesses. When you're talking about your weaknesses though, you always want to end it with a positive note. Like, how are you working on those weaknesses? Or how are you getting better? Like, I'm growing. Or like something I always say is, a weakness may be like self-confidence. I always second guess myself, but with growing experience, I'm learning to not do that. Or, something along the lines of that. You want to polish it up at the end, because don't just leave a weakness just as it is. Like, they want to know that you're working on yourself and you are growing and expanding. So another question that you may be asked is, how can you relate some of your outside hobbies to what you do at work? You want to go about answering this question because this is also one of those like personal questions. You want to tell them like something you do, but you don't want to be like, I'm a rapper on the side and there's just something like you don't want to go into there. Like, something I like do every day is meditate. So I say that meditation helps me stay calm and stay focused and work under pressure. So you kind of want to just tie it all in together. That's tricky and that is personal. That's personal for everybody. So find something that you do consistently every day or something that you do quite often, and how can that help you in your job? So that's how you want to answer that question. One of the next questions that you may be asked is, what are some of the most important aspects of your career? And that may, in a way, that's just asking you, what are your values? So as a nurse, if you ask me, what is the most important aspects of nursing? I would always say something like patient safety or the patient experience, because that's something important to me. Like, I value people's experience and people's time with me. So I would just talk about that and give an example and like kind of tell them why that's important to you. That lets them know what your values are and kind of get a feel for like, what do you think is important and what do you it just tells them a little bit about yourself also. We are all trying to get to know each other. So some of your questions on these interviews may consist of how you deal with other people. Well, a lot, especially if you're working with the general public. One of the questions may be, tell me about a situation where you had to deal with a person who had different views than you. With answering that type of question, you always use an example. Just pull something out of your list of experiences. Use an example, but then in the end, I always say something like, I focus on the similarities rather than the differences, and use those to my advantage to get through whatever situation. You like how that sound? Yeah, you want to go with something along the lines of that. Make all of those interactions with other people positive. Like, you always want to have like positive interactions with people, or end your interactions with people positively. The next question may be something like, how do you handle conflict with peers? Now, you want to be careful with answering this question too. How you handle conflicts at work may be different from how you handle conflicts not at work. So just don't get those confused. You always, like I said, in the conflict or the situation positively, always throw in something about like communication, openly communicating, trying to be on the same page, just highlight having harmony and balance within the workplace, because like that's like the easiest way to like get through that question. Like, you can be dealing with the most difficult person, the most difficult customer, the most difficult patient, the most difficult anything, but like, as long as you are positive in how you handle those situations, or like just put an effort into actually trying to solve the problem without being confrontational, if that makes sense. Like, they just balance and harmony within the workforce. Focus on that. And with that being said, that comes to the end of your interview. That comes to the end of them asking you questions. That's when you ask all those beautiful questions that you gathered in the beginning. And that it goes from there. Like, I've landed pretty much all of the jobs that I ever wanted just by like doing the work, putting in the effort into it. And like, you will too. So just continue doing your research. You finding this video is research. So do your research, have a positive mindset and just, Michelle Obama said it herself. Failure is a thought long before it is reality. So like, just stay positive and try to think of like, just, you have to feel that you're going to get this job, and it will happen. So good luck and congratulations on all of your accomplishments.